I told you that you could make a 6 or maybe even 7-figure income playing video games? Would you believe me? I probably wouldn't have believed myself if someone told me that. But my guest on the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast, Rebecca Longawa, sits down with me and explains how people are making actual livings playing video games and how the sport is evolving. Yes, I did say it's a sport because it has become one. So tune in to the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast and find out how esports is changing the reputation of video gaming. And welcome to the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast, your home for positive, informative, and life-changing conversations and content. And as always, our podcast is hosted by William Schultz. We hope you enjoy today's episode. All right. Well, how are all my positive people doing out there today? Welcome to the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast, your home for positive, informative, and life-changing conversations. Today, I am very honored to have the lovely, amazing, intelligent Rebecca Longawa on my show today. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm great this morning. Thank you, William.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about the video game industry. It's something I don't know a lot about. And I think because there's so many kids out there that are playing video games and there's a lot of parents that are really against that. From what I've been told, and I remember me and you had a conversation back in April, it sounds like that video games are actually becoming more of a viable, living solution for some people. Basically, you can make money and make a living playing video games. So maybe we shouldn't be so negative and so down on the video game industry as a whole. So we're going to talk about that today with Rebecca. We're going to get to know a little bit about what she does and what she's done in her past and what's led her up to this point where she's out here kind of an advocate for the video game industry. So I'll just quickly touch on how I met Rebecca. What I vividly remember about meeting Rebecca for the first time was I used to work with her husband, or ex-husband, and we were all together at a friend of ours for Thanksgiving. And I remember I was talking about our company because I do sales and marketing for our company, and then she just chimed in with all these amazing ideas, and it was just blowing my mind. And I was like, holy shit, she really knows her stuff. And I hadn't talked to her in a couple years. So recently I'd reached out just to kind of touch base with her. And it was still, the marketing mind it's a one of a kind thing here. And it's a true treasure to have you here on the podcast. And that's how I met Rebecca at a Thanksgiving dinner. And she started talking marketing. It was an amazing conversation. So I'm happy to have met you, and I'm glad we're still in touch. So Rebecca, now that we know that you're a marketing genius, why don't you tell us kind of how you got your start and, what got you into marketing?
So I actually started working in marketing at 14 years old. My mom worked at a marketing agency, and she would bring things home. They were doing a lot of direct marketing. So I started working after school. When I was about 14, I was stuffing a lot of envelopes for these direct mail pieces. So that was like my very first little marketing gig.
Is that what your mom's marketing? She had like a mail order type business, or?
No, my mom worked for Gage Marketing. It's a huge marketing agency in Minnesota, but she was on more of the finance and accounting side of the business, but it was a marketing firm. So she was able to bring, work home that needed to be done, where we would make money doing that, but she would take it home. We would stuff envelopes. So super cool. But when when I was like 15, 16, those summers, I was an intern over there at Gage Marketing. So I would go into the office with my mom, and I would be like in the warehouse area, getting things packaged and shipped out. The program that I worked on was like, I don't know if anybody remembers these things, but you would like sign up. I guess it's probably similar now to like these boxes that you get, like the makeup boxes. I get like mystery tackle box every month. So it's similar to that, but it was like this jewelry program. You didn't really know what you would get, and you had a certain amount of time to return it. Otherwise they would just like charge you for it. So I would work in the warehouse doing anything from data entry on orders or packaging materials or like stuffing envelopes. That was literally my start in marketing. And then when I went to school at the University of Minnesota, I hadn't even thought about marketing as a career. And I was really wanting to get more into like political science. And then I was like working for the Senate. I was like 19 years old. I was working for the Minnesota State Senate during Senate session, and I really realized that was not where I wanted to be. So I had to kind of dig deep about, where I found joy, and I really did like the marketing field. So I was able to kind of pivot and just get an entry-level job at a local advertising agency. So I started working full-time in advertising and marketing when I was about 19, 20 years old.
Did you graduate with a poli-sci degree then, and then you just ended up in marketing, or?
No, I went to school for a year at the University of Minnesota, and then my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer.
Oh, shit.
So and like financially, it was just such a strain. It was hard. In order for me to afford just to go to school, I would have had to work almost full time, and it just wasn't for me. And I had the intention of, leaving and working full time and trying to help my family and then be able to go back to school and finish. But I never did. And I had my daughter when I was 22 years old. So I've been really blessed with like hard work and grit and positivity to forge a really successful career for myself without having a college degree. But
Yeah, I love that. I
yeah.
respect that. I respect that because I'm in the same boat. I went to JUCO for 1 year because I had screwed up so much my junior, senior year. I couldn't get a football scholarship anymore, so I had to go to a JUCO. I dropped out of there after like football season was over, and I just been kind of on the grind ever since. So I totally respect that. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us. So when I met you, you were doing some marketing, I believe, for some sports franchises. So maybe you can kind of talk to us about those experiences, the kind of the sports franchises you work with, and what your roles were in those marketing departments.
Yeah, I had a really interesting, probably just luck. My very first like full-time marketing position, I was managing as like a production coordinator, but the project that I worked on was a FedEx's sponsorship of the NFL and kart racing. So really was able to understand loyalty programs. How can you leverage relationships and sponsorships with like a pro sports organization to increase, just increase awareness of your brand, but also we were tracking sales. We were putting some things together to specifically track and measure sales. So if you met this specific threshold, you'd get this NFL branded thing, and there's contests and sweepstakes tied in. So when I left that ad agency to Space 150, when it was just a startup, Space 150 is a digital agency here in Minneapolis, and they're in New York and LA now as well. But I was one of the very first employees there. And because I had that background, as we were getting clients underneath our belt, I found myself managing kind of like account management and project management, all of our sports and entertainment clients, because I understood that industry and already had experience there. And one of those clients was the NBA, and Timberwolves, and Lynx, and Orlando Magic. So I was able to start freelancing when I left Space 150 for the Timberwolves and Lynx, and just helping on a plethora of things, helping on kind of, strategy and working with their CMO on any emerging things within that organization, and was able to join the Timberwolves and Lynx in 2011 as a full-time employee, working as their brand manager.
Very cool. So like what are, can you maybe give us an example of like maybe one or two like marketing campaigns that you kind of worked on or you helped develop, kind of give the audience kind of an idea of how your mind works and how the marketing aspect works in your brain there?
Yeah, and I'll give an example that kind of ties into how my career has evolved more on the technology side of sports. So I'm trying to think what year it was, maybe 2013, 2012, Flash Seats, which is a mobile app that replaced paper tickets, came to market. And organizationally, the Timberwolves, we were looking at a number of solutions. There's a few of them out there, but Flash Seats was the one that was decided organizationally they were going to use. So when you think about marketing, you're really storytelling, and you're trying to get people to see things through the lens you want them to see it. So we kind of had two major objectives. One, the end goal, which is get our fans to accept and adopt not using paper tickets. And it sounds now in this really hyper digital age like that would be an easy thing, but fans were not super happy about it.
No, I know. I was reluctant. Yeah.
They loved the experience. Experience sells. So they loved the experience of getting their paper tickets, and we had designed season tickets were designed. So if you just went to the box office and bought a ticket, you just had a kind of a boring computer ticket. But if you were a season ticket holder, I mean, they were big. They were like 3 inches by 7 inches. Each ticket. They had graphics on it.
It looked like a nightclub flyer almost, right?
Yeah, like a nightclub flyer. Like we would do a bunch of different. I remember one year we decided, instead of putting like player images and crunch and dancers, we were just going to put fans on the tickets. So you could have a chance to like have your picture on it, and you didn't even know you had that chance, because we take fan pictures throughout games. So anyways, there's an affinity to it. So the end goal is, how are we going to get this communication out to our fans in a way that is going to be exciting to them, or, the least path of resistance. Yeah. But then on the other side is, you have to convince your internal team and create all these talking points and ensure that when their long-term relationship with a season ticket holder comes to them upset, that they don't, kind of fall down the rabbit hole and complain along with them. Like you have to teach the teachers. So we had to teach everybody internally why it's valuable. Why is it important? It's the future. It's going to be much easier. You won't have to mail a ticket or deliver a ticket to somebody. You can just transfer it on your phone.
So part of your objective, or part of your task, was really convincing. Not only did you have to implement this technology, you had to convince these season ticket holders that this is what's best for you and you're going to love it. And you're talking about people that are resistant to change, right?
Right.
Rich people that are resistant to change.
You've been kind of stuck in your ways, and you don't. You want that same experience, and so that I think is a pretty good example, and actually a really good example of the way that technology has really inserted itself into professional sports as a whole, and the efficiencies. I mean, it saves a lot of money not having to print those tickets, and it saves a lot of headache. And when you're not spending all of that time and energy doing that, if you think about the entire ecosystem of designing a ticket and picking out imagery and getting everything routed internally and everything approved and signed off, and then it goes to the printer, and someone from the office goes to the print shop and they're watching them get printed, and your packaging, it goes to the sales team. Now the sales team has to take each specific packet that goes to their client and create a touch point. So removing all of those layers and man hours creates dollars that are saved in the organization, and those are man hours that now can be applied somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So it's all about creating systems foundationally that move organizations forward and make them more profitable.
Okay. So I know that when we had spoke earlier in the spring, you had told me you were doing some marketing for something that's called the Minnesota ROKKR. So for our listeners out there, for the non-gamers out there, maybe even the non-Call of Duty players, the Minnesota ROKKR, this is really cool, guys. The Minnesota ROKKR is a competitive Call of Duty video game team. Would that be the right thing to call it? And then here's the really cool thing for you guys that are Gary Vee fans, Gary Vaynerchuk fans. It's co-owned by Gary Vee and the Wilfs. The Wilfs own the Minnesota Vikings. So what that showed me when I heard about this, what that showed me is that the video game industry and competitive video gaming is serious. These are legit, serious billionaires that are putting their money, their capital, and their resources into this industry. And the really cool thing about our guest today is that she is marketing for these companies and for the Minnesota ROKKR in specific. So tell us, how did you get into Tell us how you make the pivot from sports into this video gaming and technology industry.
Right. So, back to the ticketing app, this ticketing app, my evolution from working kind of in traditional pro sports to now having a career more on the esports side really came from sports innovation and technology. I was, I have so much experience working with a pro sports organization and seeing emerging technology come in. So I was fortunate to be asked to join a group called Stadia Ventures, which is a VC firm that invests in sports technology. And they have a network of about 150 individuals throughout the world that work in sports or on the brand side, like Budweiser, for example. And we kind of collectively come together and we listen to these sports tech startups pitch to us. And then we kind of collaborate and talk and help make selections of where the investment dollars are going to go. And then to take it a step further, we do these cohorts twice a year where we mentor some of the startups. So this year I'm going to be mentoring a tournament platform for esports that will be in the Middle East. So what was starting to happen through Stadia was we were getting esports, which is the competitive side of playing video games. We were getting these startups applying to our fund, and it just made all of us take a look at the industry as a whole more seriously. And you have to learn a lot about it. So that was about 4 years ago. And from there, I've just decided, I've just been fully immersed in the esports landscape. And I've just decided that I've put in a lot of work in research and understanding and connecting and brainstorming with people and networking within the industry, that esports is the future. And it's where I'm investing, and I have been investing a lot of my time and energy in it in order to be able to pivot my career and just be fully dedicated to esports. And Wise Esports, which is a division of the Wilfs company, is the parent brand of the Minnesota ROKKR.
Okay.
So not to go down like a total rabbit hole, but the way that the competitive side of video gaming works is organizations and owners will buy in either a franchise, or if it's not a franchised game, they'll maybe bring in competitors, players, or streamers for other specific games. And they kind of put them underneath this large umbrella, and their internal staff kind of manages the competitive side, the branding, the marketing, the social media strategy, execution, fan engagement, kind of all, holistically underneath one umbrella. And the reason why it's important to understand, so the Wilfs through Wise have a Call of Duty team, and they just acquired a Rocket League team this summer. And the growth strategy will be to continue to expand what's underneath that umbrella. And the reason why that is the proper strategy is the games themselves are owned by the publisher of the game creator, the developer and the publisher. And they can make whatever changes they want to the game all the time. So in contrast to pro sports, basketball is basketball. Nobody owns basketball. There's leagues like the NBA, but the game doesn't change. An entire video game could completely change or just go away. They could decide not to produce that game anymore. So if you own a Call of Duty team and the newest version of Call of Duty comes out and fans don't really like it, and no one's engaged with it, or the players on your team aren't good at that particular version of the game, you have to make sure that there's your portfolio itself is diversified so that you can monetize, it ebbs and flows. You can monetize the specific, another game or another title.
It would almost be like if maybe somebody owned a bunch of different sports franchises, and football's down this year, right, because of COVID, but I have a basketball team that's doing really well, right?
Look at MLSE in Canada. MLSE, that organization, they do own a number of pro sports organizations in Toronto underneath one umbrella.
Mm.
And it is one holding company that has all of that. And they have esports, competitive esports teams up there as well. So it's really interesting.
So for the listeners out there, the proper term we would use for competitive video gaming would be esports, correct?
Correct, esports.
So maybe to paint a picture out there, what does we'll just focus on the Call of Duty for now, because I think that's a popular game that allows just kind of your novice and average player to kind of maybe get a better visualization. Maybe could you just give us a visualization of what a Call of Duty tournament looks like? Is it in a stadium? Is it just a bunch of people online and people are watching online? Like, how does that whole thing work? What does it look like?
So pre-COVID, we'll have to talk like COVID, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So pre-COVID, what was happening in the esports industry as a whole is esports organizers were really looking at the traditional sports model in regards to competition. So over the past 10 years, there's been quite a few live tournaments. It usually is a culmination for like a champion finals. And there's, huge viewership, selling out stadiums all over the world, selling out Madison Square Garden. So there's always been like live tournaments within esports, but they're usually just like the championship finals. Where the industry started to go about 2-3 years ago was when these franchises were popping up like Overwatch and Call of Duty. The model was that there would be the regular competitions would be done in a live venue. And so the Minnesota ROKKR Call of Duty team, they actually hosted the launch event. So the very first live launch event of a competition for Call of Duty was here in Minnesota. And we utilized the Armory for that. And that
just
event
really quickly for our listeners that aren't local, the Armory was basically like an arena that, what would you say, would hold maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people? What do you think?
Probably not even that, not 10,000, maybe 5,000.
Okay, so we'll say
it's an old military armory. It is an
Yeah.
old military armory that was converted into more of a nightclub slash concert arena, but I don't know what they call those.
Yeah, I think it would be called an arena or some kind of a venue, but just for our listeners out there, it's hosted concerts. There's a lot of concerts there pre-COVID, obviously, boxing matches, a lot of boxing matches, the kind that you would see on Fox, HBO. So just to kind of put in context, they're doing a Call of Duty tournament at this arena. And if I'm not mistaken, it was packed, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it was really busy, and it was a 3-day event. So it was basically taking a number of teams. I can't remember how many actually competed at that. It might have been 6, and having them compete against each other tournament style throughout the entire weekend. And then what would happen is the next city would host the next tournament. So, every couple of weeks, players would travel, and it was kind of split. So Call of Duty has 12 franchise teams. So it was kind of split. They didn't have all 12 in one space. They would split them up in groups of 6, and then they would compete, and it's bracketed style. But if you can picture, it's a stage, and both teams are sitting kind of at desks, at stations, 5 guys on one side, 5 on the other, all facing the crowd, which is big, and multi-level crowd. And they've got their computer monitors in front of them, their headsets on, they're mic'd up, they're talking to each other. They have their coach on site. And really the energy was very similar as a traditional sports event. The fans are hyper avid fans. They've got like the knocking sticks, they're cheering.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
They're cheering for their guys. So then behind the players is a screen, floor to ceiling, enormous screen. And there are, casters, like broadcasters talking, and almost like the play of the game. If you're listening, it's like going to a basketball game and listening to the broadcasters while you're watching. So you're hearing the broadcasters live, and they're there live.
Wow.
calling the game. So they're talking about strategy and who's doing who, and there's a ton of energy. These broadcasters have like this, they're like, like, Philly's coming in for the kill.
Yeah,
like, it's like, oh
that's
my
cool.
God, and then there's graphics, just like you're watching a pro sport on television. So there's overlay graphics, there's branding of sponsors, but they're showing, the number of kills on the screen, depending on, which type of contest is happening in game. It might be like the first team to get to 250 kills, that's it. Then that's the winner of that round, kind of a thing.
Yep.
But it is literally so high energy, and these athletes really take this seriously. They're practicing together 6 hours a day. They are working with nutritionists. They're keeping themselves really healthy. Hand-eye coordination is like super important. Being rested and healthy is really important to this audience. Now that COVID has hit, because esports and gaming as a whole is so digital, our industry was able to pivot super easily and quickly to do all online tournaments. So we're leveraging tools and technology like YouTube gaming and Twitch. Discord for watch parties. Discord is private servers. You can have private conversations to join the group, be invited to join a group. So our fans are in our Discord, and they're able to.
Do the fans have to pay to watch these tournaments now, like they would pay to go to a stadium? Okay.
No, they don't. It's just, anybody can watch, and it's been wonderful. Our fans have really been, we've had huge growth of fans.
Yeah, what kind of numbers are you seeing at an average tournament now in terms of viewership?
It really kind of fluctuates in the thousands. We're having, it depends on where we are in the season and who our opponents are, of what's popular.
Yeah.
But our Call of Duty, our ROKKR events, those were being broadcast by Activision Blizzard. So you're getting the power of Activision. So it's really popular. Our engagement in our Discord, we've usually got, a couple thousand people in our Discord watching. It ebbs and flows, right? So for concurrent views, maybe 500 or so. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to watch. But our social media numbers have grown since COVID, and I think it's because people who normally would watch traditional sports are interested in kind of checking out esports. It's live entertainment. It's fun. It's easy to watch. It's exciting. Gaming sales as a whole nationally have kind of gone through the roof. I don't know, buying gaming consoles, and it's been pretty cool to watch the excitement and the growth of new viewers too.
Well, just think of like ESPN at one point in time was airing basketball players playing 2K basketball, a video game on ESPN as an actual as a view option, because there was no other sports to play. If I would have told you 3 years ago, hey, Rebecca, NBA players are going to be playing 2K basketball on ESPN prime time, in the middle of at 7 p.m. at night, you'd probably tell me I was crazy.
I would have said, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
I was talking to a radio host the other day, and I had said, what you guys should think about doing is live streaming your radio show on Twitch. I think that it would be like super cool. Like Twitch isn't just for video games. There's like Bob Ross does videos on Twitch. Yeah. So it would be really cool to see, further evolution and adoption. The interesting thing, Gary Vee says this, it's not that esports is coming. It already is here. And the eyeballs that are paying attention in this industry are already invested there, and they're not watching linear TV. This is so similar to Netflix kind of taking over what the television experience was when Netflix was just the video that you'd get like a DVD in the mail. Nobody would have predicted that Netflix would be the powerhouse that it is. But absolutely. It was working, and it was already in people's homes. So now Netflix for a while was just in the US, and now it's in 130 countries. So esports is yes, it's growing, it's on the rise, but it is becoming more and more mainstream, and it's a really good space for brands to get in front of this extremely hyper sophisticated audience, truly.
Absolutely. To kind of even to touch on the point you just made about the tech, they're already watching it. My kids 4 years ago, they were watching guys play video games on YouTube. And I didn't understand it. They literally would watch somebody else play a video game and talk crap, and they would be in there just cracking up, laughing out, and I just didn't get it. It's not for me to get, but then you see that was the prelude to something that's bigger, and right now is the prelude to something bigger, because I think as TV and that traditional medium becomes more irrelevant and people have more choice, and these kids that have grown up with video games on their devices and in their homes, they're going to start pivoting. And you're even seeing the athletes that play sports, they're into video games. It's going to be a different thing.
It's major. Yeah. I mean, locally in Minnesota here, we have JT Brown, who plays for the Wild. We have Trevor May, who plays for the Minnesota Twins. They both have their own, they're monetizing, they're making.
Karl Anthony Towns is a big gamer too. Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns has been, he's been in a lot of really large events as kind of like the celebrity layer within events. So they'll do like a celebrity tournament, and he's pretty well known in the Call of Duty scene for sure. One thing I want to say about gaming as a whole, because I think it's important for your listeners to understand, is that the majority of Americans they play video games, they're gamers. It's the way that they play video games that differs. So when you talk about, a lot of parents are like, oh, I don't want my kid playing video games so long. They're playing, I don't really get it. I don't think it's viable. What moms need to understand is 51% of gamers are women. And the ones who identify themselves as gamers, those women, 60% of them are playing video games every single day. And 79% are buying in-app purchases. So women are a huge part of the gaming community. They just don't see themselves as part of the gaming community. They're judging the way that their kids are playing and ignoring the fact that they're on their phones all day playing Candy Crush and Bubbly Pop games and stuff that moms are sitting and playing. So, I think it's pretty unfair that there's scrutiny. The stereotypes are really changing, but there are still a lot of stereotypes that.
No, you're right. I didn't
think it's a waste of time.
I've never even thought of it that way. And this might be a little bit out on a limb, but as you just said that, I was thinking about how guys and girls use Instagram as a way to thirst trap, right? Where they're actually playing a game of how many likes can I get? And it might not necessarily be packaged as a game, but let's be honest, that's a game that you're using to pass time, entertain yourself, take your mind off of whatever it is that's bothering you that day. Hey, I'm going to take a nice little picture and see how many likes it can get. So many people can get in my inbox. That's another form of gaming if you really think about it. The thirst trap game. Let's play. All right. So I have a question for you in terms of, you kind of touched on the parental thing, but I guess going a step further from that, are you telling people out there right now that there's a way a video gamer can actually make a living? And if so, how? How much can a video gamer make on a high end, on a low end? How do you get on a team? How does this whole thing work when you turns up monetizing your video gaming skills?
So if you think about traditional sports, like we'll just say, football, there's a really clear pathway for young athletes starting at 3, 4, 5 years old. If you want your kid to be an NFL player, there's a conveyor belt. There's a pathway, right? It starts with the little league. It starts with youth programs. Then they're playing in, elementary school, middle school, high school. But in the summers, they're on these club teams, right? They're working with trainers like Tyrone Carter, who played for the Steelers, right? He's got his little training camp. So you're infusing your kids into this conveyor belt this system, and then scouts are going to high schools for college, and then in college scouts are watching the best college players. You go to the combine, you know, enroll and you know, say you're up to go to the draft, and that's the conveyor belt. Esports is different. I mean, we're still working on foundationally building that pathway to be pro. Joining online tournaments has been really popular with young people to kind of, you know, hone their skills and test and get noticed. They have to build a really strong brand. So they're working on building their own social media channels and their brands. Twitter is extremely popular in this space. Instagram is popular in this space. They're creating their own YouTube channels. They're streaming live on Twitch. They're pulling their best clips. They're pushing them to their YouTube channel. There's new technology out there that kind of helps with that now. So there's a platform called Reely, R-E-E-L-Y, and they can basically watch your stream and pull out specific highlights, game specific highlights, and then put them into a repository. They rank them, so they're like, you know, 1 through 10 or whatever. So you can say, and then you can also auto, so you can say anything that's a 7 and above, I want to automatically go to these social channels, right? So yeah, that kind of tech is being
really
built
cool.
up,
Yeah,
which is really cool. And that's where I spend the majority of my time, is on the innovation side of the space. But they're monetizing really in 2 distinct channels if competition is the goal. One is via being a streamer, like on Twitch, Facebook gaming, or YouTube gaming, and the top streamers, you know, males and females, are making a lot of money. They're making money not only through the platform to be there, but they're also making money from fans that are submitting, like on Twitch, they're called bits, and it's like giving somebody a little tip. So it could be $1, it could be $2, just saying, yeah, cool stream, loved it. I'm gonna give you this little bit of money.
Okay.
And then brand partnerships. So you can see on some Twitch streams, like if you look at like Pokemon's Twitch stream, she's got Amazon as you know, an ad for Amazon, and I think there's like a makeup brand and a clothing brand that are layered in there. Logitech is really big. They're a hardware company that's endemic to esports, and endemic means that their products that they make are directly tied to the sport, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So so there's that, and then the other side is competition, and some it's weird, is there's like, it just kind of like interlaces, right? So some esports athletes, these pro gamers who are assigned and paid by a team to play video games on behalf of that organization, some of those athletes also stream. And some popular streamers like Ninja, who is kind of a household name in gaming, the blue hair.
I've even heard of him. Yeah.
Got Adidas shoes. He's very mainstream. So, you know, Ninja competes, but Ninja's not the best. He's the top streamer out there, right? I mean, he's the most household name, but he's not the absolute best Fortnite player. He's just a really great personality. Some of the top gamers that are absolutely the best of the best, that are, you know, blowing everybody else away in competition, they're not super effective streamers because they're not a big personality. And you see that in pro sports all the time. Big personality can win and really carry fandom. You know, we had a basketball player on our team when I worked at the Timberwolves who wasn't the best basketball player on the court. He was a bench man, but when he came out, he was so beloved by fans that they would chant Mad Dog.
I was going to say, I swear I was thinking it's Mark Madsen. When you said that, I was like, it had to be Mark Madsen.
People love Mark Madsen. And it's like, I mean, the way he carried himself from the bottom to the top of the organization is what made him so successful, and why he's a really successful coach now. But you see that in this industry as well. So streamers, think about a personality. They're actually the ones really raking in high amounts of money. The pro gamers, they're, you know, when you start doing research on these gamers, it's how much they've made in their lifetime versus what a specific contract is worth.
Sure.
How much have they won? You know, they might go to a competition and win $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. Whereas a streamer that's really popular, you know, the top 100 streamers, they're making multi-millions of dollars a year. I mean, I remember the moment, and I think it was even a couple of years ago, that it was discovered that Ninja was making $1 million a month.
That's
Streaming
insane. And that's more, that
himself
could be more than
playing
some
video games.
pro athletes,
Yeah, truly.
Wow.
So, you've got big names like Shroud, Dr. Disrespect, Ninja on the guy's side, Pokimane as a female on the streamer side. She's extremely popular as well. She actually just announced, just from all the pressure, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to be on. You're streaming 6 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
She's taking at least a month off. She needs a mental health break, which has been really celebrated in our industry. And then you have, the traditional gamers that are competing. Their lifetime value might be anywhere from, $25,000 to $500,000. There's some that have made more, but they're not making, in comparison, they're not making as much as streaming. So we even saw recently, trying to think what country he's from, maybe France, but not from the US, where he left competing in Call of Duty to just stream full time because he's making more streaming, and he just couldn't devote the time to be on a pro team anymore. So,
but to me, doesn't it seem like that's going to change to some degree, that as the competitive gaming gets more popular, you're going to probably see purses. I can't see Gary Vee and the Wilfs investing in anything that's not going to grow, and they're not going to, right?
It's a long-term strategy, right? It's like if you were early in investing in something like Netflix, right? Now we might be the DVD circulation phase of what Netflix is, right? It took off. It's in a lot of homes. People get it. They like it. They're going to mail this DVD back and get the next one. They're going to sign up. Is it in every single home? Is it the primary way an entire, demographic of people are consuming? Not quite yet, but we're getting there. I mean, the traction it's growing exponentially. And really what's interesting to look at is, and I think we see this generationally, is like, I remember my dad thinking that, he didn't think we should get a VCR. He was like, I don't know, VCR.
Yeah.
Like, why? We don't need that, right? It's like, it's generational. And what you have to understand is this generation, this Gen Z audience, they've grown up with a device their entire lives. They are 100% digital. This is the way they're consuming information. This is the way they're consuming content, is online. So when they're thinking about sports, they're thinking about consuming it online. They're thinking about watching a sporting event on YouTube. They're thinking about, looking there first. Versus turning on a television or, opening up a TV guide, right? So it is inevitable that this will take over. And you can see the evolution of the games themselves becoming something that's easier to consume, like the launch of Fortnite and mobile. Globally, the majority of people who are consuming and playing video games, they don't have access to PC computers as easily, and they don't have access to console. So the mobile game, taking mobile games and making them competitive is really going to be the future.
Absolutely.
So you'll see some more of that. Rocket League specifically, it's extremely comprehensible. It's easy to watch. You can turn off all the audio, and it's cars playing soccer, basically, in this hyper, it's obviously it's all digital. It's not real cars playing soccer, right? But it is, the graphics are bright and fun, and it's high energy, and you can turn the sound off and still be able to understand what's happening in the game, right? It's the cars are working to get the ball in the net, and the other cars are trying to block it, just like soccer. But it's extremely watchable, and it's easy to comprehend and understand, but it's super hard to play. Like, if you try to play it, it looks like it's easy, and then you try to play it and you're like, holy cow, how are they doing that, right? It's hard to learn and it's hard to play. But it's fun, it's engaging, it's high energy. So it's really fun, and it kind of transcends, kind of all audiences. So kids love it. Kids love to watch it. Parents like to watch it with their kids. It's something that you can kind of do together, and it's safe. It's not a shooter game. So it's a lot more mainstream. And I think Rocket League is really positioning itself to be one of the biggest sports in the world. I mean, It's a
Wow.
really cool game, and it's extremely exciting and on the rise. And a free-to-play version is coming out. In-game purchases are really big in this industry, so their free-to-play is coming out, similar to Call of Duty Warzone. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts the overall fan engagement of that sport.
So, kind of a couple more questions before we move into what you're up to these days and how we can find you. What what advice can you give parents out there who's if a kid comes to them and say, hey mom, dad, I want to be a competitive gamer. What kind of advice can you give parents to that where they can help foster that kid's desire to become a competitive gamer?
Yeah, spend time with them, watch them game, um, join Discord, like understanding the ecosystem. I think it'd be really advantageous for parents. I always say, if you're willing to sit and watch your toddler play horrible soccer in the rain on a Saturday morning, you should be willing to just spend an hour watching your kids, play Fortnite or
Yeah,
Minecraft or whatever when they're young.
yeah,
Just enjoy it with them. Even if you don't understand it, ask them questions, get up to speed. When my daughter was playing volleyball, I didn't really know a lot about volleyball, but I had to learn because I wanted to cheer her on. I wanted to, I didn't really like volleyball, but it was something she really wanted to do. So you just invest that time and energy. There's some resources that are going to be cropping up. I've been working with some startups that are actually building out resources for parents. There's the GGWP Academy. GGWP stands for Good Game Well Played. They're in Australia, but that's a really great tool. It was created, it's a platform and a community. It was created by a mom of an esports athlete in Australia, and she had to learn the inner workings of the industry and really help him along on how does he build his personal brand, and how do you navigate this world. So she's the founder of this organization, and that is a really great place to start.
okay,
And investing in good equipment for your kids. It's just, how serious are they? Are they really dedicated? You would buy your kid the best sporting equipment in any other sport if you really thought they were going to take it seriously. If they're just having fun with it, maybe you don't need to. But if they're really serious, get them good gear, get them good equipment. Make sure that you're observing, however, because in anything that is in our digital world, just like any other digital platform that your kids are engaging with, you have to be hyper aware. There are trolls in this space. There are people who try to knock you down, or will try to attack a newbie in their lobby or in a game. So you really just have to be invested and pay attention and listen and help them, kind of navigate, especially on the social side, the bullying or
yeah.
those types of things happen in anything online. So you have to be hyper aware of that as well. Or take them to an event when the world is normal again, bring them to an event. We have an NBA 2K team here in town. The Minnesota Timberwolves have Wolves Gaming here. We've got a Rocket League team. We have a Call of Duty team. Our Rocket League team is competing. We've got weekly tournaments called the Grid. You can
What is the
watch
Rocket
those.
League team called? So if people want to find them.
They're called Version 1 or
Okay.
V1. Version 1 GG is our social handle on everything. And it's really fun to watch. I mean, if your kid's really interested in esports and you want to learn more about it, start watching some of our local, competitors here in town. So
Cool. So last question that before we get into what you're up to, what advice can you give to gamers now out there that want to get into competitive gaming? They want to, and this is a two-part thing because you kind of laid it out earlier. You have your streaming players, you have your competitive players. So maybe you could touch on it. And you kind of did in your earlier, but let's kind of hone in on it. What can people that want to get into streaming do to build their kind of their brand, how they can get into it? And how does somebody become a competitive player? How does somebody get on the Minnesota ROKKR team or the version 1 team? How do they get discovered? How does that happen?
yeah, there's really no clear linear path to that. Like I had said, it's about, you have to dedicate the time and the energy. You have to be good, right? And then there's online tournaments and online platforms like the Collegiate Star League. and World Gaming Network, where you can join online tournaments. And those types of tournaments are really World Gaming Network is one of the biggest feeders into pro sports, pro esports.
Okay.
To be a streamer, you need the equipment and you need to invest time every day. It's just like any other algorithm online. If you are a TikTok influencer and you don't post anything for a month, you're going to have a huge drop, right? So it has to be consistent. So you need to stream consistently, be on and off. You have, I would always say like on the court and off the court, but online and in real life, you have to have integrity. You have to be true to who you are. Your personal brand really matters. So are there specific things that you can layer in that you're known for? Catchphrases or certain attire that's consistent? And what can you do to kind of stand out, stand apart? But really consistency is the absolute key. And then this is what I say to everyone who's interested in this space, young people, is you have to really be honest and true to yourself. There will be a time where you have to decide if it's not going to work and it's not working, what are your other options? So before you get to the point where either you're not viable anymore, maybe you've been gaming for 5 years and nobody wants to sign you again, or you're just not winning tournaments anymore. What work can you do now when you're just getting interested in this space to think about your backup? And there is an entire business of esports and gaming that is extremely robust. I mean, the gaming industry as a whole is, $500 billion industry. Esports is 1 billion of that. So it's big, and they're both growing rapidly. So, what else do you love? For me, it's strategy, it's branding and marketing, it's sales. I do all three of those in the space. And I'll just say I wasn't a gamer growing up. A lot of people in this space, super passionate gamers, they still game. I'm not a gamer. My son is a gamer, my daughter is a gamer. I'm not. I don't even have a game on my phone.
I don't either.
But I love the industry and I understand it. I also wasn't a basketball player and I worked in the NBA for many years. So there's a business side to this. It could be event production. It could be sound, stage, lighting. It could be marketing. It could be sales. Could be account management of the business relationship. So say a brand like Caribou Coffee invests in the space, or Jack Lynx is already in the space. If you work at Envy Gaming, you need an account manager to manage the relationship with the team, marketing team over at Jack Lynx, to make sure that they're happy and that all of the elements from social to online to jersey kits or whatever the activations are, that they're being managed appropriately, and that they're getting what was promised.
When you were thinking about, hey, my 5 years is up, my skills are diminishing, it made me think of, wow, a gamer could start their own training academy. They could start their own online how-to. They could become a coach. There seems like there's a lot of things. I mean, I even watched, this is like 2 years ago, I watched a Real Sports segment on HBO, Real Sports, with Brian Gumbel, and I believe it was Northwestern University, actually had a gaming team, and they were giving scholarships to gamers, and they were staying on. Now they had to work their ass off, like they're training 8 hours a day. It's just like being on a college basketball or football team. You eat, sleep, and breathe that sport, but they were getting the education paid for. So
and a lot of colleges are taking notice of, can you get a degree in gaming? So can you get and it's more emphasis, right? So is it a marketing degree that's gaming focused, almost like a sports marketing degree, right? An esports marketing degree. There's people that reach out to me, William, you would have no idea. Chiropractors, hey, I want to add esports to my chiropractic practice. Can you help me understand the space? Can I hire you to consult to teach me how to reach this audience, right? the sports psychologists getting into esports. It's every service that's interested in reaching this unique market and the fans that they're marketed to. So it's really interesting. You can kind of take any traditional business model, and think about how does that apply. You could be an accountant for an esports team, and you're still a part of that energy, and you're still a part of that space. So thinking about, what are your skills? What are the things you love? What puts a fire in your belly outside of gaming? Can you apply it to gaming somehow?
Yeah, that makes sense. And maybe most importantly right now, gaming is COVID proof. If anything, it excels during a pandemic, right?
It has excelled. Excelled. And, it's hard to predict how many people are watching it just because of the pandemic that maybe will drop off. But I think a large percent will probably continue to.
It'll become a habit, a behavior. A habit turns into a lifestyle. A habit and turns into a behavior. A behavior turns into a lifestyle. So if somebody's consuming it and they truly love it, I guarantee they're going to keep watching. Yeah, some people will drop off, but they weren't really ever truly invested in it. So, as we wrap up, guys, just as we finish that segment, just everybody that's listening out there, parents, don't be down on your kids for playing games, because we know you've been playing Candy Crush for like 4 years now. All right. So you've been doing it too. Okay. And also for the gamers out there, I think what I'm hearing is if you guys want to get into gaming, a couple things got to happen and get it in on a competitive and a financial to have financial gains. A couple things I'm hearing is you have to be consistent. You have to be dedicated to it, and you have to put yourself out there. Which I know is difficult for a lot of gamers, because typically you've been kind of pigeonholed as introverted a little bit. But hey, this is your world now, and it's time for you to take control of it and get yourself out there, especially with all the opportunities. So hey, Rebecca, tell us a little bit. What do you got going on these days? Tell us what you're doing, where people can find you. Just enlighten us. What do you have going on?
Yeah, well, a lot of things that I typically have going on, I can't share a lot of specifics. I have a lot of NDAs out there, but I'm working with 3 global investment funds on helping them find esports startups for investment, more on the technology side. I mentor quite a few startups. I think maybe 5 right now that I am kind of on their board of advisors and have a specific role within those startups themselves. I'm working with a team at Wise Esports, really behind the scenes on some strategy, sales strategy, growth strategy, some marketing tactics, just whatever that organization needs me to kind of fill in, because they're a startup too, and they're growing and they're evolving. So I've been, just kind of helping them on contract behind the scenes, helping that team out, which has been such a blessing. I love it. Also working with a media company that is working with some of their clients on the non-endemic side. So the brands that aren't in the space, they don't have anything specific to, they're not selling hardware or software within this space, right?
Yeah.
They're like drink beverages and snack foods or insurance companies. So this media company has been working with those clients, and I've been helping the media company educate these clients about the space and helping them put a strategy together of where they could fit to start getting their products and their services in front of this coveted group of fans that could be their next consumer. So that's been pretty cool. And then I'm also working with a large scale tournament organizer, digital tournament organizer, to put together a really huge, it's going to be big, can't say what it is, but it's going to be a really big online tournament that'll benefit a national charity.
Oh,
and
wow.
That project is absolutely large scale and at the highest level, getting a ton of attention, and we're really weaving in some big partners into that. So that's currently what I've got kind of on my plate. It's a lot, but it's a lot of fun, and you just got to lean in when you can, especially in times like this.
And so this is the Permanent Lifestyle podcast, and the Permanent Lifestyle for me was kind of like, I used to be kind of a knucklehead when I was younger, and I've just kind of grown and evolved over the years, where the changes that I've made in my life are permanent, right? But there were steps to get there. So I'm starting to ask my guests. I started it yesterday, so I want to keep this going, and I want to finish each show with this question. What is the permanent lifestyle to you? What are the traits that you feel people need to have in order to get through something that they're going through, in order to grow, in order to be the best possible person they can be?
Well, my brand, my company is called Happy Warrior. And that comes from a poem that was written, I don't know, 500 years ago, called The Characteristics of a Happy Warrior. And it's about going to battle and fighting for your country, but all the while not getting distracted by the pressure of that, and self-identifying more at a spiritual level than the battle that you're facing. So that poem has really helped shape a lot of who I am. I would say if I'm anything, I'm an overcomer. And every time something is put in front of me, I look at it not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. And I think when you have the mindset of, okay, move forward, like what's next? Things don't work out. I've tried things that just did not work out.
Yeah.
I've put myself out there and I've gotten hurt, right? In life, in relationships, in business, and stopping to turn around to stare at what just happened isn't going to get you to the next level, right? So leave it behind you, move forward, think ahead. I'm always thinking of, creative ways to continue to build. And if you can get into that mindset, I also, God is everything to me. I'm a Christian, and thinking about, what the fruits of the Spirit are things that no matter what's going on in the world, nobody can take away how much you love someone, how kind you are, right? And when you can focus on that, like those foundational things that no matter what, that's still you and your identity, you're always going to be a winner. You're always going to win.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Rebecca, finally, where can anybody, if people want to get in contact with you, people want to get to know you, where can they find you? Where's your preferred place to be seen?
So LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach me. That's where I'm spending the most of my time on sharing business thoughts and leadership. Rebecca Longawa, Longawa. There's probably only one of me out there. So that is the best. Also, Rebecca_Longawa on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, but I've only posted like once. I don't even remember what my handle is. Well, you can probably, I have a really unique name, so you'll find I'm easy to find.
And the name of your company, could you give the website people can find that too?
Yeah, it's happywarrior.us.
Okay, happywarrior.us. And you guys, that's Rebecca with 2 C's, you guys. That's Rebecca with 2 C's. So, well, thank you very much, Rebecca, for being here today. I learned a lot about the video gaming industry that I didn't know about. I'm actually, after hearing about the event, I can't wait to go to my first live video game event when COVID's up, because that sounds like real interesting. I could take my kids, because my oldest son loves video games. So he didn't want to go to a rap concert with me because he thought, I'm too old for that. So maybe I could drag him to a video game thing. He might hang out with his old man doing that. But I learned a lot today. I hope our listeners did today. And just thank you very much again for taking time out of your day to talk with us and enlighten us about the things that you know. It's truly a pleasure. I have so much respect for what you do. And I definitely consider you an inspiration for the things that you do, and especially in terms of like marketing and sales. So I keep a close eye. And so this means a lot to me that you took time out of your day.
It was my pleasure, William. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining, and join us next time for the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast.